Aloha, and in this brief screencast, I want to talk about the branch and merge model that we're going to be using in the class and help you kind of understand how you implement it with Git. The basic idea is, as you'll see as we get further into the WADs, is that normally when you start a WAD, you create a branch off of master to do your work on the WAD, and if you have to do the WAD more than once, you basically just go back to master. You switch branch back to master, start a new branch for the second, attempt at the WAD, and do it. And then finally, you want to merge your best version, back into master. So if you're doing a subsequent WAD that builds off the previous WAD, you are always starting from master, and master is always going to incorporate the best, version of it. So how does that work in practice? I want to show you some things you can use to go through the steps, and then show you some tools you can use and get to better understand it. So let's create a repo called branch demo, why don't we use gitignore.io to create. We want to ignore some of the IntelliJ stuff. So let's create the new repo actually, and once we've done that, we can set it up in our desktop. I'm going to have it called branch demo, and now that it's down there, we'll go to settings and we'll whoops, forgot to select it. Let's go back up here, propeller C. And then propeller V, save changes. Now we got this git ignore, so ignore IntelliJ files. So we'll put that into master. Okay, and now what we want to do is create a new project where we're going to do some work, make this a web project, whatever. And put branch demo. Okay, and then inside here, let's create a file called work.txt. Add it to Git. So initial work in the master branch. Okay. And so we did. So we're just kind of, this is like pseudocode or something like that. We're just pretending we're doing work. We're not actually doing work. But if we go to GitHub now, we can see that in our master branch, we've got this work file and there's some initial setup or whatever. So setup for the project. So we'll commit that to the master branch. Okay. Now what we want to do is create a branch to do a WAD. Or an enhancement, because this is really a generic thing. When you're doing regular software development, this is also a really nice strategy, which is that any new increment of development, you create a branch, you do your increment of development in that branch, and then when that increment of development is finally, completely implemented, tested, working perfectly, you merge it back into master. That way master always consists of a working system, okay? It's a very kind of popular paradigm for development using Git and other version control systems. So it's an easy, it's a good way to go. Let's go to branches. So let's pretend we're going to do an increment of work or a WAD, however you want to think of it. And so what we'll do is we'll create a new branch called enhancement or WAD enhancement 1. We'll create this branch. Now it automatically switches us to this branch. So we can now go to IntelliJ and we're in that particular enhancement 1 branch, and we can say now here's some work on enhancement 1. Okay, so we'll save that out. This this is a metaphor for lots of things you might be doing. And you can see we're in enhancement 1. You can see we have some changes, okay, and let's go and commit those changes. So work on enhancement 1. So we're going to commit and sync. Okay. Now what I want to do is show you on GitHub. Okay, if we're in our branch demo, so we go to this repo, what I want you to do is click on the graphs page and then click on this network. And what that's going to show you is the network of branches and master and so forth. And what you can see is that we had some work. We had 2 commits on the master branch, and then we've created this enhancement branch off of master, and we've made a commit there. Okay, and in fact, what we could do is, go back to IntelliJ, more work, finish. Let's just say finished work on enhancement 1. Okay, so we save that. We go to GitHub. We've got this final work, so finished enhancement 1. We're still committing to enhancement 1. So we commit and sync. That means we commit to the local repo. We also push our changes up to GitHub. And then if we go to GitHub and we refresh this, okay, what you can see is now there's 2 commits in enhancement 1. Okay, and now since enhancement 1 is finished, or the WAD is finished, and what we want to do is merge those changes back into master, because master should be the main line that's always reflecting the best state of the system. So to do that, we're going to go back to GitHub, and we're going to go to branches, and we're going to click on this merge view thing, which provides, you can do merging from the command line. It's not very hard, but this is a little more graphical, and it makes it easier to see what's going on. What we'll do is we'll take enhancement 1, and we're going to merge that back into master. Okay, that's going to merge 2 commits. So we say merge branches, voila, all finished. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to, in general, we want to go back to master, okay? And also, this merge that we've just done has only been done in our local repo. So GitHub knows nothing about this yet. So what we want to do is we want GitHub to know about it. Well, there's been no changes to our enhancement 1 branch. So what we want to do is we want to switch back to master. Okay, and what you can see in master is that we've made commits to merge this branch enhancement 1 into our local repo, but they're unsynced. And by unsynced, what that means is that they haven't been pushed up to GitHub. So the way that you complete that, okay, is by pressing this sync button up here, or you're going to do a push, from the command line to push it up to your upstream master. So let's press this sync button. Okay, and now if we go to this page and we refresh it, what you can see is now this enhancement 1 has been pushed back into master. Okay, and so we could do something like a little more work on the master branch. Normally, you might not do any work like this on the master branch, but just for kind of pedagogical purposes, so you get the vibe of it. Now we've got a little more work on the master branch, so we've done some more on master. We're going to commit that to the local repository and push the changes up to GitHub. Okay, and if we now go here and refresh our network graph, now you can see. Let's refresh again because it didn't quite get there. Okay, now you can see here's this other commit, and we've moved along. And of course, we can continue to do this same kind of strategy, where now we want to create a new branch. We're back in master, right? That reflects the latest state of the system. We're going to press plus to make enhancement 2, create the branch, and then go back to our IDE. Now we work on enhancement 2. Save that out. Go to GitHub. Go to changes. You can see we've got this work on enhancement 2. So we're committing to enhancement 2. You can see that right up here. Work on enhancement 2. We're going to commit it to the local one and push to GitHub. You might say to yourself, why are we always pushing to GitHub? Isn't that crazy? I don't think so. I think it's actually a very nice kind of strategy to basically always push things to GitHub. The reason being that if you do that and something messes up here on your local computer, or the dog eats your computer or whatever, your disk crashes, you've always got a backup on GitHub. So it's a nice kind of backup mechanism, if nothing else. So let's go back to Google Chrome. We're going to refresh once more. We're going to refresh once more. Okay, and then we see this. Now we have this enhancement too. Okay, and we can, again, just do the same thing. Whoops. Where we want to merge, so we take enhancement 2, and we want to put that into master. We merge branches. That does it only locally. We go back to changes. We select the master branch. We've got our unsync commits. We hit sync. And to check our changes, we go to here. We refresh. And now you can see that enhancement 2 has now been merged back into master. Okay, the only last thing I want to show you, which is kind of cool about this, is that let's say that we want to kind of go back and see where we were in enhancement 1. Well, we can just switch to this branch. Okay, now that's the current branch. If we go back to IntelliJ IDEA, okay, here we are back in the state of the system as it was when we were working on enhancement 1. And by simply using GitHub, we can go back. Let's go back to master. And then if we go back to GitHub or IntelliJ, now we've got all our stuff in here. Okay, so that's the simple story. Branching in GitHub, really nice way to isolate pieces of work in their own spot, merge it into the master branch when you're done with it, so that the master branch is always kind of the solid version of the system, and then use this network graph visualization that you'll find in the graphs page under network to be able to visually see how your branches and your master relate to each other.